This is Black Legacy, 1800 and beyond. Here to my left is Paul Quinn. Paul Quinn came to Indiana with the Quakers, who were big on anti-slavery. Paul Quinn started Bethel AME Church. He planted several churches, but Bethel AME Church is the oldest still operating African Methodist church in Indiana. Also is our Calvin Outland. He became one of the first barbers here in Richmond, but he also ran an underground railroad. And right now we're trying to work to see exactly where that house would have been. The records showed that it was across from the courthouse, but, you know, years ago, all of that was torn down, but we are trying to find that location so we could put a marker there. One of the other well-known legacies at that time was Robert Townsend's. The Townsend Community Center is named after him. The Civil War started and he wanted to serve and see what he could for the country. He ended up going to Massachusetts because at that time, Indiana was not taking black men as soldiers. So he fought in the Massachusetts regiment, and then he did come back to Richmond. He did serve in the legislature as one of our governors. So he was very active in human rights and active in wanting to serve the country and serve the people. And then again, when he came back with all of his serving that he did, the Townsend Community Center was named after him. So right here in the middle, we have C.R. Richardson. C.R. Richardson was a very well-known attorney here. He was also a businessman, and he did have a elementary school named after him. He was friends with Booker T. Washington, and Booker T. would often come to Richmond and visit with C.R., and he encouraged him to start a business. So he started the People's Coal and Trust around 1918, 1920s. He also was the editor of the Richmond's black newspaper called the Richmond Blaze. So C.R. was, quite the businessman around town, and the attorney. Also fought for the firemen for integration of the firehouse, which we didn't get that done until 1966. We also have Grovell Bundy, who was one of Richmond's first police officers in the North End. We have Mr. Garrett, him and his brother had invented a wheel, but was unable to get the patent, and then so they didn't get a patent on it, but you can see the picture of the wheel. We have Miss Maggie Woodyear Gordon, who was our first African-American teacher in a black African-American school. And where was that? Well, that was in Bethel Church, and that was in like 1836. Unfortunately, we did not have another black teacher until 1961. We also have the Richmond Blaze, the all-black fire crew that was over on North 8th Street. And then Sturgill Patterson, which was the only black funeral home in Richmond. They were there for 86 years, and that's where everybody of color went. Okay, now we're at the case that has our brave responders, our firemen, our first responder, and our police men of the police department. We were so excited to be able to get a uniform of Robert Bowen. So that is one of his fire department uniforms. We have Joe Perkins' fire hat, and we have a badge of Marion Williams. This is the exhibit of the explosion that happened in 1968. The Martin Arms exploded. One of the firemen, Bob Bowman, had just started with the fire department, and here was the explosion. He didn't go home for 3 days, and he thought, my goodness, what have I gotten myself into? But the whole community came together. As 41 people lost their life that day, but the whole community came together. Again, the Ross family. Audrey Ross was a policeman in Richmond, and we were able to get his revolver from 1938 that Audrey Ross carried. His son, Johnny Ross, also became a policeman. His other son, Bob Ross, that I had mentioned, that was a car dealer. So the Ross family is well represented here in this display. Tim Davis was also a policeman. Okay, so this is our display of our firemen, policemen, and first responder from the 1930s on to present day. So the backbone of our community was our churches. And here in the back, you can see Bethel AME Church. Again, Paul Quinn, when he came this way with the Quakers, and Frederick Douglass was his friend, he planted many churches, and he did plant Bethel AME Church, which again is the oldest active AME church in Indiana today. And these are some of the people of Bethel. There's also Mount Moriah, Mount Olive churches. Reverend Girton of Mount Moriah was very active in the community. He was concerned about human rights, and when he built Mount Moriah out on the South 14th and M, he also built Greenwood Apartments. And when you go to Mount Moriah, down the back, in the back lot, parking lot, go down the steps right into Greenwood Apartments. And they're still thriving today. It's very clean there, and there is a monument to Reverend Girton there. One of the things of the history was I didn't realize that there were Black churches and communities in Cambridge City and Hagerstown, but unfortunately, when Jim Crow came, they burned down and ran out. But you would be able to see some of the pictures of those churches at that time. So in this section, you would be able to see some of the churches. Again, that is the backbone of the Black community. This is our exhibit on dealerships. Bob Ross bought Vivian Buick here in Richmond, and he became the first African American to own the auto dealership in Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia. Things here weren't moving quite at the right speed, so he moved to Dayton, Ohio, where he started the dealership there. And right now, his daughter Janelle Ross is the leader of the dealership. They are in Centerville, Ohio, and she's doing very well. As a matter of fact, she was the first woman, second African American, to be the leader in the American International Automobile Dealership Commission, and that pertained to over 10,000 dealerships across the country. So she's doing very well. And also her mother, Nana Ross, was quite uh, instrumental in many community affairs. As a matter of fact, she has a room named after her out at Orion College. So this is our leadership legacy. It's Bob Ross, Norma Ross, and Janelle Ross. Here we have our military heroes. It is absolutely amazing the service they gave to our country and how sometimes we're not recognized for that. So again, behind me are our heroes. One of them was a prisoner of war for 30 months. And we have some that have even earned Purple Hearts. So now we have our dynamic teachers, starting with the first African-American teacher in Richmond in about 1836 on. We have a wonderful outfit that one of the teachers got at the Cleveland NASA Space Center. Then we move on to our social clubs. Back then, back in the 50s, 60s, Richmond had quite a social activities that the Black did. On the other side, we do have our sports. Vegas Ferguson, Lamar Lundy, that's very well known here as far as sports, our basketball players, Dominic James and Desmond Bain. Nathan Davis also played for the Canadian League. Teachers, our social events, and our sports. An icon of Richmond, Indiana, is Specialty Record Shop. The Basses and the Kellys started it in their home in 1947, and they moved to Richmond. And many people have fond memories of that record shop. Okay, so Richmond's not only known for Jeanette Records, but we did have many masterful musicians. We had those displayed from Harold Jones down to Melvin Jones, who played with Baby Huey and the Babysitters. We also have Andy Simpkins, Miss Dandridge, that sang overseas. So you need to see that exhibit. Okay, now we're here with our Wall of Fame, starting with the NAACP that was founded in 1909 here in Richmond. There's many other folks that have made an impact and made contributions in Richmond and beyond. We have also one lady that was one of the first news reporters in Atlanta, Georgia. One of the gentlemen was one of the first radio broadcasters in Nashville, Tennessee. So visiting the Wall of Fame, there are many others that have been recognized for their contributions and achievements that they've made. Okay, and now the final of our exhibit are our current leaders, Townsend Center, and what it's meant to the community, and our current leaders that are forging ahead on contributions and accomplishments. As the founder of the Black Legacy Project, my dream was to give a sense of pride to the kids of Richmond and to the community, to show our acknowledgement, our accomplishments, and our contributions that we made here in Richmond and beyond. But as I've always said, it's not over. This is a fluid project.